Welcome to this webinar here in Riga. This is the Baltic My Europe conference, which we have just concluded, and we are here in a seminar to sum up what the main opinions, the main points of view which we got from here. The conference here has been organized by the Danish Cultural Institute for the Free Baltic Countries, as well as the My Europe project. We spent 2 days, and we have ended summing up by means of postcards. People have written postcards, which I think you can see here. So we have a lot of points of views from different participants. Maybe some of these points of view will come up again here, and people here, the audience also have cards, so that if they want to put a short question, they can write it down. Otherwise, you're very welcome to stand up and interfere. Now, we will start out like we did in the conference of Bornholm, with the question: what is the European dream? What is the European dream Baltic version? Would you like to start, Alexander? Oh, I should say, sorry, I should introduce you. That comes now. Alexander Aidarov from the Ministry of Culture in Estonia. I should also say before you start, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
That here we have Sanda, do I say it right? Segleniece? Yes. Yes, from the Ministry of Culture in Estonia. Well, this is a very high-powered panel we have here, right? And Mirca Raipu, who's actually from Romania, but who's studying here in Latvia, right? And final panelist here is Jan Capek, from the University of Pardubice. I hope that was right, in the Czech Republic. And Jan is here because the next conference will take place in the Czech Republic, in Pardubice. Okay, what is the European Dream Baltic version?
It seems to me that for us in Estonia, we envision Europe as a strong union where Estonia can or belongs and can actually participate in say, internal affairs and also international affairs. So we are an active member state and we are interested in active participation.
So participation is
yes.
the main part of this, what you say,
yeah.
European dream.
Yeah, I hope that I reflect at least some opinion of some part of the population.
Yes, yes. And when you say participation, it's perhaps sort of also a reflection on the earlier time, on the Soviet time, right? That
yes.
You now want to have a role of participation in an international world, at least in Europe, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
What would you like to say here, Sanda?
I guess that European dream, Latvian version or Baltic version, let's say so, it's when we went in European Union, I guess what we dreamed of was peace and prosperity in Latvia as a part of European Union, and peace and prosperity in all European Union. So I guess we are moving closer to that dream. I at least hope so. That these are the main values why we joined, and we would like to ensure that Europe is a safe place and prosperity for everyone, or most, is at least available.
And there's a discussion on that going on in relation to the theme of this conference, which is migrants and refugees. But we'll come to that in a second. Mirca.
Well, I can be subjective because I am not a native Baltic, but however, I will express my opinion. I think that speaking about the European Union, we shouldn't have in our head a map or a continent. Europe is a civilizational project, so those who feel that they belong to this project, a project of humanism, definitely they are welcomed. Europe is not only 28 countries, it's a mobile civilization. That's why I think that we speak about a reality, not about a dream. In my view, the Baltic states and as well as the other states which compose the European Union, they have this sense that they belong to a world, and they decide by what is right and what is wrong, and they have a voice to express to the world. That's, in my opinion, the European dream. Thank you.
Yeah, Jan, you cannot say that you're from the Baltics, but you're at least
Of my personal perspective,
from
yes.
the Czech Republic.
Because I will speak about from my point of view. My European dream is already reality, because I was born and I grew up in the communistic time, and crossing of the borders, it was a criminal act. So now I am dreaming my dream. I can move free in Europe from Slovak Republic to Madeira, to Canarian Islands, almost to Africa. And so my point of view is my European dream is already reality.
So this, interestingly enough, we are right now in a situation where we have a refugee discussion, which may end up in all countries closing down their borders again, or not all perhaps, but we will see a lot of Schengen being dismantled. Now, how do you see the refugee problem? What do you think are the most important things in the refugee problem, which we discussed here?
I think that the main challenge or problem is that for Estonians, Latvians, Lithuanians to understand that we are not alone in this Europe, that some people may also come to our country and stay at least for some time. Maybe it's related to previous historical experience and memories which might be still vivid, that we're afraid of some kind of colonization, occupation, and so on. It seems to me that as a new member states, and we have been 25 years old, independent, and so on, it's time for us to realize our own responsibility and our own potential to deal with certain issues that are related to the whole EU, not only to Estonia, but Latvia.
One of the issues that are very heavily represented here in these postcards, which people wrote us at the end of group work, is that there has to be unity in diversity, but there also has to be diversity in unity, which means that Europe has to be both local and general, right? Now, there's one person here who presents himself as a Eurosceptic. He says, Brussels has imposed a solution on Latvia, and we have no way to protest. There are refugees here already, but the government lies to us. We don't trust them. Any comment?
First of all, the refugees are not here yet. This is misunderstanding. And I think that we shouldn't negate that this part of the population has their own right to express their concern. I think that if persons are aware of certain issues, and we shouldn't negate certain challenges, problems that are related to migration, illegal migration, or whatever form it has, I think that their critique might be very vital to address this issue. If we say that, okay, we understand your concern, and now we try to solve this issue. If we just say that to be populist, okay, we have no problems and we're ready to accept these people, I mean millions, and this is not even a problem, we can handle it. It's populist and we just lie. I think that skeptics help us to address weak points we may have or we have. So, and we should take this part of the relation seriously, as we should also take seriously optimists.
Yeah. Yeah, yes. So Jan would like to come in.
So of course we have the same complaint in Czech Republic because many people say Brussels makes a decision and we have to follow. But I think if we compare the profit and the duties. We have both, and we have in this situation we have more profits or duties, and we can say, and I miss it in our politicians. We should say we are part of the community, and we have not only profits, we have some duties. And now this is the moment when we have to say, now we have to fill our duties.
One point that came out during the group discussions was that that politicians go much more for populist solutions than the people want to do, and that the politicians are supported by the press. Can anyone explain that dichotomy to me? What is going on here? Yeah, Mirca.
If I can, I think that the issue, the crisis of refugees, it also refers to the prospect of sovereignty of states. For example, when Brussels was in favor of introducing these quotas for a redistribution of refugees, then it already touched this very hot topic of sovereignty. Unfortunately or fortunately, in the European Union, there are states which still decide the politics. But in my view, I think that some states, they don't have the updated opinion of their societies. And in this sense, I suppose that there should be more space for societies to express. I think that the role of NGOs is very crucial. And I don't exclude that in some states there might be new elections in order to simply update the public opinion and to represent this new opinion towards this problem. I think that there is space for better.
But if we say that there is a problem that politicians do not really know what the public opinion is, or what the public opinion could be if there was a discussion going on. Now, here in Latvia, we heard about at this conference about Mana Balss, My Voice. There's also a page on that on the internet, on the site myeurope.today. And here the idea is that 10,000 people can propose something which is reformulated by an NGO and is then submitted to Parliament. Now, okay, maybe I'm just mentioning this. This could be one way, but there must also be other ways, I suppose, where people through their movements, through their communities, express their opinion and get up to high politics, up to the politicians. Do you have any ideas as to how this could take place? In the My Europe Declaration draft, which you know, which is also on the site, there's an idea that maybe NGOs should be supported to have more representation in Brussels. But is this a way? Any comments from the participants here? Yeah, please. If you would state your name, please, and stand up.
Well, my name is Adewale. I live in Estonia. Well, one thing is this. There is a bridge between the leaders and the people they are leading. So oftentimes, people sit in their offices and assume that they know what the people, the common man on the street, is going through, whereas that is a lie. Now, when politicians and leaders are making policies, they always have the bigger picture in their mind, and the bigger picture is the profit of the state, not what the citizens are going to think about it. When they're making policies, when they're implementing it, when they're defending it, when they're debating it in the House, what they're going to keep saying is that we are working for the interest, for the common goal of the common man on the street. But the common man on the street is going to make you understand that I voted you in, I pushed you in there because I believe you can represent my interest. Now, how are they doing that? Before they get into office, there is always this kind of close communication with the man on the street. But the moment they get there, there is this huge gap between them. So oftentimes, they live on the information they have with them before getting to offices, but they fail to update.
But how do we change this system?
Yeah, one of the ways we can do that is this. For every community, for every grassroots organizations, for every NGOs, there is always a representative. There should be a voice that represents the common goal of the common man on the street. There is no leader in the world that is greater than the people they are leading. So if every man wants to retain that power, that want to retain that position, then they have one obligation, and that is to listen to the people.
But does that mean that we should rethink democracy in the sense that, yes, we have representations, we have representatives, and we elect them every 4th year or so, right? Yeah. But in addition to that, we need some kind of channel which could be NGO-based or based on the on the communities where people live.
Yeah. Because government is not complete without the involvement of the people they're leading. So when the people get more involved in policy makings and implementations, all this issue of my Europe, the refugee crisis and migrations is going to be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, Alexander?
I think it's right that the government needs input, and it is related to well-known theory, both in practical and theoretical terms, like inclusion of citizens and so on. And as we know, there are different forms of inclusion, like, say, just to have a class or lecture to inform people about certain decisions, or to collect petitions and so on, referendums. And in case we are interested to solve refugees problem, I think that we need to not just inform people about what's going on, but also involve them. And we should directly deal with these well-working forms of inclusion, not just formal inclusion, but substantial inclusion. And we include all guys from Africa, from Syria, from Estonia, and elsewhere from the world. Yeah.
Yep. There's a comment on Facebook here, Marie-Lise Lupere, who says that considering the mixed population in the Baltic, I don't think that people can be blamed to be a bit too protective. There is a lot of protest against refugees in the Baltics, isn't there? But considering the mix that is already there, there's a fear of losing one's identity and way of life, that's for sure. But most of all, there's a fear of the unknown. People are not used to living with people from Muslim origin, and unknown is always bad. Yeah, can I pass on to Mirca first?
Well, from my own perspective and experience, I have been in Latvia last academic year. I spent here as Erasmus student, and I noticed a very interesting phenomenon. Latvia is one of the recipients of students from Uzbekistan, so quite people from which, let's say, with different culture and background, and they live perfectly here. I mean, you can adapt on long-term people from another countries. It's just question of will, and the adaptation process doesn't imply only those who come, but those who are here. It's a share of experience. So I completely agree with Angela Merkel. She, in this sense, she is, I think, the echo of this concept. The responsibility is mutual. We shouldn't expect that the people who will come in these countries, it's their own responsibility to do everything. We should have our approach from understanding.
Yes, I could agree with all the people who spoke before me. And I guess that yes, there is fear, but fear is as we heard before, of those unanswered questions that does not receive answer. But I guess one solution is, as I mentioned in a postcard, for the next conference, the solution is respect. And respect must go both directions. Yes, we have to respect those who come in, but those who come in for certain kind of reasons, they should also respect the values of the country they are living, are going to live.
Yes, once upon a time you mentioned United States. In the United States you have to declare that you accept the Constitution. I mean, maybe if we could invent a similar thing. Sorry, Mirca.
I would like to address a bit this myth of clashes of civilizations. Well, this theory that was promoted by Samuel Huntington, that there would be at some borderlines, there would be the clashes between Christian civilization and Muslim civilization. I would like to say that if we go deeply into the essence of Islam and Christianity, then we will find the same values. Islam is not a religion of war, it's a religion of tolerance, as well as Christianity. So basically we have the same understanding of the world. It's idea of negative perception that exists nowadays towards Islam. I think that here should be initiated a process of training and of accommodation towards Islam. And in my view, there is a common background for both, for Christians and Muslims to live together.
Okay, yes. And we have a question from the...
I'm interested in the panel's views about an interesting example from about 40 years ago is the refugee problem that the Netherlands had to deal with, which was the Indonesians with joint passports. And about 350,000 were accepted into the Netherlands, this small country, in a 6-month period. This was a very major point. One of the ways they tackled this was they distributed them around the Netherlands. They weren't focused in particular places and concentrated. They thought this was a good idea, which is a little bit like the EU idea, perhaps, of spreading the people around. But one of the questions is, will the refugees stay where they have been allocated? And do we need to think about a temporary removal of the Schengen Agreement? And one of the things, and we can discuss whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we have heard on 2 occasions in the last 2 days that this would be a disaster for the European Union, that we might lose the euro, we might lose this, we might lose that. Well, as someone from outside the Schengen Agreement, yes, it takes a bit longer to get in and out of a country, but I'm not convinced at all that a whole lot of other playing cards would fall over if Schengen was temporarily held up.
This is Finn Rowan from Denmark.
From Denmark and Germany.
And Germany and head of the
International Sonnenberg Association. Yes, I want to go back to the Latvian situation, seen from outside, because it has been an eye-opener to come here. And I think it is very important that the rest of Europe knows more about other countries. In this situation about Latvia, and situation here which is not easy. For me it was an eye-opener to understand this economic situation here, the situation with migration. 1 million people left the country since 2004, as in the last 10 years, and how would this small country survive? It's a very young country, that is another thing, and you have to see that in connection with nationalism, which you all find here too, which can make it very difficult for Latvia to be part of Europe. But you have to understand that. I think it's very important that we, from the other countries, learn more about each other, and it's this situation about Latvia. So I think it has been very good with this conference in that aspect. Thank you.
I think we shall switch theme a little bit here. We have to end rather shortly, and I would like to take this migration issue up as well, which was the other side of the conference. But before I end, there's a postcard that looks like this, a really nice postcard, which says, "Dear EU, all I want for Christmas is for you to solve a couple of global and local crises. All the best, kindest regards from Eva, Finland." Okay. Yes, there has been discussions going on in Europe regarding the migration issue. Now, and we have taken it up here at the conference, actually, my impression is that you don't see so much of a problem in the migration issue at all. Only that here in the Baltics, you want borders to be kept open, full stop. And in that sense, there could be a contradiction between the Baltics and the old Europe, you could say. What comments would you have on that? Could you please explain a little bit more about sort of the thinking here? Do you know people who migrate and why they do so? And what are your points of view on that? Alexander.
Yeah, in Estonia we have indeed quite a lot of people coming abroad. Why they do the work, they marry, they have families, and a lot of international students as well. So basically, why people are not afraid of them, I think that they have certain structures that help them to work, to study and so on. And this is a well-organized process. In case of refugees, we have no any idea how this could be done. And of course, we really rely on international experience and on say, old EU countries who have been dealing with these issues for years. In Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, we don't have that experience.
No,
rather,
so here we have these questions of unions, for example,
yeah.
that migrant labor from the Baltic states are not necessarily a member of labor, and you have a social dumping going on. Yeah. And you are saying that this may change over time, is that it?
Or just I'm saying that in case of immigrants, we have good structures that help them to, say, integrate. In case of refugees, we have no idea how this should be done, because problems certainly are different.
Yeah.
And this is a fear of unknown. We have no solutions. We don't know how the government is going to approach this issue. The government will say populistically that brothers and sisters, don't be afraid of. Everything is under control. Actually, well, maybe partially at best.
But there was one intervention in the conference to say that the population is dwindling very fast. Am I right that Latvia, once upon a time, had 2.9 million and is now down to 1.9 or so, right? Okay, good. I'm okay. I'm getting corrected. So from 2.3 down to 2. But anyway, it's a dwindling population. Now, what could be done to that? Could you do you think that more should be done to get migrant labor back, or do you see maybe the refugee question as being part of a solution? I mean, that you have new people coming, and you may is that a possibility?
I think that on the one hand, our Baltic states should think about how to keep our talented and gifted persons in their home countries. Otherwise, as we know, they just run away. And then we have, say, empty slots, and we want to fill them out with refugees or immigrants. However, we don't solve the structural problems in society. This is why people leave, and so basically we'll have the same problem, but maybe later, after all these refugees will understand that this is a bad place and we want to go to Germany. Say we were relocated to Estonia, but we have been living here, say, for 5 years and 10 years. We think that it is really bad to stay here because we have more opportunities somewhere else. Yeah. So it's irony that on the one hand, the task of the government or the state is to ensure that we have good opportunities in our own countries. So we partially fail some part of the population, gifted, talented person who are ready to have children, not in Estonia or Latvia, but in UK or in Germany. They run away, they leave, maybe they will return, however it's not that sure. And we call immigrants, okay, you have a lot of opportunities, but what kind of opportunities do you offer if our own people are ready to leave the country?
Yeah.
Well, I would not speak in such a bad colors about Estonia because because the statistics shows that Estonia has the lowest rate of immigration. Yep. I think this is related to the fact that Estonia, to some extent, found its brand. Estonia is a country which invested a lot in technology. Everyone uses Skype, correct? I mean, I think that a solution would be for these countries and for every country which faces this kind of problems to find the talent of the people, to find themselves. And of course, while you have a good legislation, you can attract a lot of foreign investments. This, on the other hand, will improve economy. And on the other hand, this may also stimulate local people to produce more children. So that's also a solution, I think.
So what we're ending up with is actually that there's a lot of things that can be done locally, and that it should be seen as unity and diversity. It should also be part of some solutions at the European level, and also that there is some kind of connection between the refugee issue and the migrant issue. So thank you very much for this. Let me just end by handing the mic to Jan Capek. So the next conference will take place. What is the date? What are the dates?
So the next conference will take place in Pardubice. Pardubice is a small city, 120 kilometers to the east from Prague. So it will be, I think it will be a little bit smaller conference because Pardubice is a small city, has a small university, and I am a small man, but small is beautiful.
Yes, and I hope that many of you would find opportunity to go there and take part, bring some of the messages from here on. And anyway, what we have got here, partly in these postcards, partly in many other ways, will be brought on so that we will continue our work to prepare good thoughts and questions for My Europe declaration on more democracy and a more social Europe. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this.